Yeah.
Remember that? It was nice. It was fun.
Bring it here?
Yeah,
We were driving in the back.
We was driving in the back, and I was parking it and everything.
Must have been my day off.
Matter of fact, it's more fun than driving a car to me.
Yeah, they had those in the Virginia store. That's all they eat. Facebook Live, and that's Andre. Support me.
All right, guys. So, unfortunately, we have to talk about another mass shooting that happened in Chesapeake, Virginia, that you guys probably won't hear about, right? If you did not hear about it today, you're never going to hear about it because the mainstream liberal media, they're not going to cover this one because, once again, it does not fit the narrative, okay? Right now, they're focused on trying to make the Colorado mass shooting fit the narrative really, really bad, even though it seems like, I'm not sure if they can necessarily make it work, but they're trying. However, with this story right here, they're not even gonna bother to try for obvious reasons that we got to get into, because again, the coverage of this tragic, horrific event again highlights the double standard here, in which the mainstream liberal media does not seem to be interested in mass shootings if they don't fit a certain narrative, aka if they can't be exploited for political gain in favor of the Democrats. So I want to talk about that. But before I get into that, I have to basically give you guys a quick background on what happened if you don't know. Last night in Chesapeake, Virginia, a gunman by the name of Andre Bing opened fire in a Walmart. Now, this is the guy. This is what he looks like. And apparently he was a manager at Walmart. And around 10 p.m. or so, they were having a meeting in the break room. And allegedly, according to witnesses, this guy just snapped and he just started shooting a bunch of people in the break room. There were dead bodies found in the break room, about 3. And then there was some bodies found outside the break room. And I think 1 maybe outside or in front of the store or something like that. So this guy basically went on a shooting rampage inside of Walmart. He was an employee. He had worked there since 2010. He killed 6 people and then he killed himself. Again, just an all-around tragic situation where, obviously, thoughts and prayers go out to the family members. I know they're grieving, they're mourning. And I guess, again, in a situation like this, it's a good thing that their deaths aren't being used for political gain. But again, it's also sad that this isn't going to get the attention that it deserves because of that very reason. So without further ado, I actually want to play a video that is eyewitness kind of testimony about what was going on at the time of the shooting. And then I'm going to play a news clip so you guys get a full understanding of what's going on and all the updates up until now. Take a look.
Just left out the break room. Manager come in there, started capping people up in there. Started shooting, bro. Like, I'm whole though, y'all. Sadly though, we lost a few of our associates. I don't know how many. I'm not going to speak on it. I'm not going to show it because I ain't like that. But I'm whole, y'all. The story is that. I mean, I came in, goddamn.
What's going on here?
Shooter. Goddamn. Yeah.
Bro, I was just about to come in and get some snacks.
Ain't getting them now.
What?
But pretty much, the manager came in here, started dumping, man. As soon as I left out the break room, he went in there, man. By the grace of God, yo. Man, I don't know. That shit wild.
We just did the motherfucking act. He waited till everybody was in that motherfucking break room. And you know what? I saw him when he went in the office.
We're staying on top of breaking news out of Chesapeake, Virginia. That's where at least 6 people were killed after a mass shooting at a Walmart. A senior law enforcement official tells NBC News the shooter was an employee there, a disgruntled employee. Police would only confirm that he was an employee and that he died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. So far, his name has not been released, but investigators say they've executed a search warrant at his home. The Chesapeake police chief says officers were on the scene just minutes after the initial 911 call.
Our 911 dispatch center received the first call at 10:12 p.m. last night. The first officers arrived on scene within 2 minutes at 10:14 and entered the store approximately 2 minutes later at 10:16. The first responding officers entered the store and the scene was declared safe by 11:20 p.m.
So to recap, 6 people killed. The gunman also confirmed dead. 4 victims are currently being treated at area hospitals, but their conditions have not been released. Right now, investigators say there is no clear motive for the attack, that they'll spend several days processing the scene while their investigation is ongoing.
A lot of people are asking questions about who could have done such a thing. What happened, and what do we know about the person who pulled the trigger? For that, I'm going to bring in 10 on your side's Julie Millay with more on that story. Julie?
Tom, we have spent all day reaching out to people who knew the suspect, who worked for him or with him in the past. We also spoke to many of his neighbors. He lived in the Eva Gardens section of Chesapeake. The neighbors we spoke with there said they didn't really know him very well. This is a picture of the shooting suspect. His name is Andre Bing. We're told he was a team lead with Walmart and had been working for the company since 2010. FBI agents and police officers have been outside and inside the home all day. We just shot this video of them searching for evidence inside the house. We are told by a source that no alarming evidence was found inside the home with that search warrant. No additional weapons, no ammunition, nothing to do with the suspects. Chesapeake SWAT and Virginia State Police have cleared the house. They're now working to determine what his motive may have been and anything else they can learn about his past. Neighbors tell us police were at his home less than an hour after that shooting happened last night. We asked them what they knew about the suspect, and it sounds like he mostly kept to himself.
Very aloof, and I didn't even know his name. Nobody ever came. We never saw anybody there. So, no.
We now know the names of the victims killed in this tragedy, and you see them right here on the screen behind us. They are 38-year-old Brian Pendleton, 43-year-old Lorenzo Gamble, 70-year-old Randy Blevins,
52-year-old Kelly Pyle, 22-year-old Tanika Johnson, and a 16-year-old whose name and image is being withheld because of his age.
Yeah, so once again, thoughts and prayers to those victims, condolences to the family. Again, it's terrible. You are a working class American, just trying to make a decent living. And you go into work and some lunatic decides they want to shoot up the place for whatever reason. We don't know. Again, there's videos floating around on the internet. He didn't necessarily seem like a weird guy or anything like that. Seems like in some of the videos, he was a well-liked employee. I mean, he was a manager, but it looks like, I don't know, he just snapped, right? I mean, I read an account that he was laughing while he was killing people. So again, he could have been a crazy person. We really just don't know. We don't know. And that's the whole point. I mean, that's what you can say at this point. That is what journalists with integrity, or put it this way, at the very least, reasonable, not sick people would lead the story at, and they wouldn't push a political agenda. Because if I was just like the left, what I would do with this story right here is push a political agenda. Hey, is this another example of black on black crime that's going on in this country that the left, they don't want to talk about? What is this guy's political affiliation? Black people, they 90% of the time they vote Democrats. So this guy must be a Democrat. It's highly likely he's a Democrat, which means that Democrat rhetoric must have influenced this guy to go out here and kill these people. Should we silence the Democrat Party? Do we need to censor them? Then we need to deplatform them? Because this guy, who most likely is probably a Democrat, we don't know, okay, but I'm speculating that he is just based off his skin color. He's a Democrat. Therefore, again, Democrats are responsible for this. They're responsible for this. Doesn't that sound familiar? But how silly does that sound when I say that, right? It sounds very silly. It sounds very silly. For whatever reason, leftists think that it's okay to do that when it comes an opportunity for them to exploit people's deaths because they're a part of some marginalized community. However, in this situation right here, you're not going to see any of that. Well, why are you not going to see any of that? Well, the reason why is because, again, this doesn't fit the narrative. There's nothing here for them to exploit at all. The shooter was black. As far as we know, none of the people that were killed were, a part of some special marginalized group that's more marginalized than black people, right? But again, even if they were, it doesn't matter because, again, the guy was black. So that neutralizes any of the victimhood status that any of the victims may or may not have. That if the guy was white, that would be highlighted. It'll be all over the news. If this guy was white, you would know the race, you would know the sex, you would know the sexuality, you would know all of that of the victims by now. You have so much information. If he was white, if there was just one possibility, there was just a inkling of a possibility. The guy is a Trumper. He's a conservative. You have all that information. But because the shooter is black, because he's black, you're never going to hear about it. These people's lives apparently don't matter. They don't deserve monologues on CNN and MSNBC about hate in this country. How it's out of control. Now, they'll play up the gun control narrative a little bit here because they always got to push that. This is the playbook. If the guy is white, then he's a Trump supporter, he's a white supremacist, he's a conservative, he's a Republican. Okay, if he's white, right? Specifically a straight white male. But if he's not white, then it's guns, right? Guns are the problem. That's the playbook. But they're not even going to play that up too much. They'll talk about it, but they're not going to speak too much about that because it might bring too much attention to the fact that the guy is not white, right? The fact he's black. You know, Democrats don't like talking about black on black crime, right? They don't want to talk about that because I'm pretty sure some of his employees were black. Some of them probably were not black, but I'm just saying. When the mass shooter doesn't fit the narrative, aka is not a straight white male or conservative Trump supporter, or they could, basically spin the narrative that he is that in some way, crickets, silence. It's Thanksgiving, perfect time, right? Where you can just, move on past this story, people taking breaks, and we're not talking about it anymore, right? Same thing happened with Darrell Brooks. Darrell Brooks, right before Thanksgiving, ran over 6 people, elderly folks. Guy was black, victims was white, therefore not important. Not going to talk about it. No time slot whatsoever on MSNBC. I guarantee you this one won't either. CNN was talking about this all this morning. Before we knew the guy's identity, CNN was talking about this. It was all over CNN, all over mainstream liberal media. As soon as his face came out, cricket, silence, moved on, new story. Can't exploit it. Can't make any money off of it. Guarantee you, Joy Reid won't be talking about this. Just like she didn't talk about Timothy Simpkins. Just like she didn't talk about Darrell Brooks. But what happened in Colorado, though, that deserved a whole segment from her in which she basically, came out here in support of kids going to drag queen shows.
Just to go on, because I don't think most people have ever seen one. I've been to one with kids there, I want to show you guys what drag queen story hours look like, because there was a drag show that was supposed to be at this club when this attack happened. I just want those who don't know what they look like to see what one looks like. This is cut 2. Please play this.
The hair. So a lot of drag queens have really big hair. So the hair on the drag queen goes up, up, up. So you can put your hands on your head like this and go up, up, up. So the hair on the drag queen goes up, 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 up. The hair on the drag queen goes up, 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 all through the town. Good job.
And, it makes me sad, Brandon, that scares right-wing people so much that they would try to ban it, or your governor sued people over it. And then people act surprised when there's violence against people who are trans and LGBTQ. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so Joy Reid continuously refuses to cover stories like this, where the suspect of a tragedy doesn't fit her narrative of white supremacy and MAGA and Trump supporters out here killing gays and blacks and minorities. Don't fit that narrative. So therefore, not going to cover it. And then people want to act surprised when there's a mass shooter and the suspect looks like this. When, if you're paying attention, nobody should be surprised. Because it happens all the time, but yet the mainstream liberal media doesn't want to talk about this problem right here. Why is it that people that look like this, why are they committing so many murders in this country? Why is this happening so much? What's going on in Chicago? Why are so many black people losing their lives at the hands of people that look like this? You'll never hear those questions be asked. But let somebody that belongs to a so-called minority lose their life to a white cop, straight white male, that in some way, some form or fashion, the mainstream media can connect to Republicans, conservatives, or Trump, wall-to-wall coverage, 4 days straight. This ain't going to get 24 hours. Again, tomorrow's Thanksgiving. You won't hear about it tomorrow. They won't talk about it. You're definitely not hearing about it on Friday or Saturday or this week. You're not going to hear it. It's done. It's done. You won't know the victims' names. You don't know anything about them. You're not going to know anything. Motive don't matter. None of that matters. Because the liberal media can't exploit it. They can't exploit it and use it to smear their political opponents. Again, they don't even want to go the gun control route because, again, might bring too much attention to the fact that the guy's black. Might bring too much attention to that. Remember, that's racist. Again, it's a shame that we live in a country where if you die at the hands of a lunatic, a mass murderer, whether or not people give a damn is simply based off whether or not you can be exploited for their own personal gain. It really is a shame. These are human beings. These are real people who lost their lives to tragedy. And I think that each and every time this happens, it deserves equal coverage, regardless of whether or not any side of the political aisle can benefit from it. Again, it's just sad that this is how we treat human beings in their lives. We treat them as political pawns.